I met her at twilight in downtown Reno, on the corner of Mill and Virginia, on the river corner of Pioneer Center, Truckee River, snow water near, 1 block away, cooling air, chilling her naked body, chilling thoughts of elsewhere. River water come from Tahoe, down clear, cold mountain stream. Chilling air, chilling her bent down, naked buff body, shaved head, steel wire eyes glued to ground, stooped by weight of stones. So many stones bending her frame, bending her gaze, blues burdened gaze. In her nakedness, she was all alone. I met her in downtown Reno in dusk light, across from post office, near Lakes Crossing, where Washoe were slaughtered, where Paiute were slaughtered, where survivors, American Indian ancestors, were shipped back east by railroad. Easier to steal the land that way, you know. She caught my gaze squatting down naked right there on the corner, just around the corner from Esoteric Coffee House and the poetry reading on First and Sierra. I didn't want to offend her, but I had to touch her, because she had rocks in her head. She had rocks in her head like me. That's what they said since I can remember. They told me I had rocks in my head because I chose poetry. But they didn't know poetry chose me. Like sexual preferences. Like moonlight on still night low tide sea pools. Like moans of spent sweaty lovers. Like Africa and snow-topped mountains. Like Florida and barefoot walks in warm sun showers. Poetry chose me. She drew me to her, eyes cast on ground, across from Bantu Spirit African Shona art store, Maasai Petite 40 cents. I climbed the steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, popping the last, drinking her form, circling her point. I worried someone would see me entranced with her, drawn to her. I wondered, has anyone come here to touch Washoe woman, Maasai woman, Mandarin woman, poverty slave, white woman, enmeshed in steel binds of Eurocentric male dominant society, bent by so many swallowed stones, stones of patriarchy, stones of racism, stones of male supremacy, stones of misogyny, stones of single motherhood, stones of closed-door poverty, stones of mothers given flags for war-dead sons, stones expunging my reference to wisdom, any reference to wisdom of the life-giving, peace-protecting elder, peace-protecting crone, stones of homophobia, Stones of corporate media tried trapping my sister's image in polarities of hooker or saint, harlot or Madonna, bully or hag dog. Stones of corporate media pushing stories of sisters crafted by men who could be brothers. Pushing sexist poppycock consumed by young brothers and sisters orphaned by absent parents dreaming of condos with white picket fences, while community, a place where all people are safe, is smeared to terse extension by spin doctors. 86 from the Fourth Estate, disbarred by disloyalty, diseased by cannibal sales in Acton. Stones of barefoot in the kitchen and don't be a woman and be too smart. Masculine, female phobia. Stones of men who could be brothers, winging at the climate of violence against women. Stones of men, stories of men who could be brothers, winging at the climate of violence against children. Stones of, if the sister fights back after years of torture and stops her abuse, stops her children's abuse, she'll be locked up for life with abuse evidence smothered. Stones of when you're slaving at your job, you won't get what you're worth, but a few old, greedy, funky white men will be paid 700 times more than sisters or brothers in a system called capitalism. Synonym for industry of misery. Synonym for if they won't buy it in a store, we'll make them believe they need it for war. Look at what you've been forced to swallow, I whispered to her. And then I touched her. I touched the rocks in her head. I touched the rocks in her back, just above her heart. Then I reached around, still afraid of being seen, being accused of rock-strong male compassion. I touched her heart between her stone-still breasts. I touched the soles of her feet. I touched her face. I touched her eyes. I touched her lips. I touched her cheek. She could only look down at the ground. I could not remove the stones that weighed her down, diminished her sight. A pair of geese honked high above, flying over Snowmelt River, breaking her spell on me. Sounds of water rushing over stones, sounds of stones, wet whispering prayers filled the air as I followed feather-light flight of winged ones climbing in cloudless blue sky. I turned back to look at her one last time. One last time. I said gently to her, they told me I had rocks in my head because I've always been a dreamer. They told me I had rocks in my head because I've always been a singer of songs. They told me I had rocks in my head because I've always believed in love. They told me I had rocks for brains, but the rocks were really flowers. Spoken word flowers. Image flowers. Truth flowers. Rhythm flowers. Poetry flowers. Waiting to bloom. It was twilight in Reno.
All right.